Hi, I'm Patrick and this is the Mach-E vlog. You may not think that a trailer is exciting, but it is so cool. We're here at ACT Expo and we're going to talk about why this trailer is so exciting. But first, let me introduce you to Ali from Range Energy.
Hey,
so
good to meet you.
So you're Ali. What is your role with the company, first of all, and then we'll dive into this trailer.
Yeah, so my name is Ali Javidan. I'm the founder of Range Energy. And you know, I've been in electrification for about 17 or 18 years now. Started early in my career as one of the early team members over at Tesla, helped develop the Model S and all the other vehicle platforms there. Went to Google, spent some time on a lot of different things, including some of the vehicle work that was being done. And then most recently before this, I was at Zoox helping develop the robo-taxi.
That's so cool.
And so in 2021, I decided to help some friends in the commercial industry. As some people know, I've been driving trucks and trailers, mostly smaller stuff, but trucks and trailers for most of my life, since I was about 14 years old. So I have this weird intersection of trailering and technology development. And so I put all of that together in 2021 and created this company. And we spent the first couple of years retiring risk on the technical side, and the last couple of years have been on customer deployments and starting our manufacturing process.
Very cool. Now, we saw this in our Green Lane video. You guys had one of those out there, and I thought it was just like so cool. And it sounds weird, like this is just a trailer, but it's actually really cool. There's a lot of trucks here that are talking about electrification of our transportation, but this is sort of like can help bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Tell us about the trailer, and we'll let's move over to the graphic.
Yeah, we could walk over to the graphic, and I can kind of show you a little bit about how the trailer works and the underpinnings. You know, having experience driving trucks and trailers, no matter what, if it's a boat trailer or a jet ski trailer or something big like this, you know that anxiety and that kind of lack of safety that you feel. And really, you're just towing around something that essentially has no controls. And so the concept was, how can we take the standard dumb trailer and add some intelligence and some propulsion to it? So what we've done here in this case is very simply two sub-assemblies. We have the the drive module and the energy module. And they are pretty descriptive for those that are into the EV space.
Yeah.
The drive module includes, in this case, an e-axle, which is the electric motor, but the e-axle is a little bit more kind of robust. It's made for this industry.
Right.
The nice thing is that the brakes and a lot of the components that the industry will interact with are standardized for the industry. So then that's the drive module, which is doing the driving and the regen and all of the safety controls. And then safety actuation. And then this is the energy module. And within that energy module, we have a battery pack that's 288 kilowatt hours of energy. And that battery, it's a LFP chemistry in this case. And in that battery pack, in that energy module, in addition to the battery pack, we have all of our controls components. We have our thermal management, our power management. This then, as a energy module, provides energy not only for propulsion and storage of regen energy, but also provides power for ancillary components for things like refrigeration units, camera systems, security systems. So not only is it removing the reliance of the diesel tractor and reducing the load on that diesel tractor, getting 70% better fuel economy, 70% reduction in harmful diesel emissions, but it's also now compounding by our ability to reduce that 1 to 3 gallons of diesel that's burned per hour while the box is being kept cold. And guess what? That diesel engine that's in the reefer unit, it's not even legal to be on the roads in North America. It's a 2.2 liter kind of gray market Isuzu engine, which is great for stationary power and great for what we needed up until now. But we all know how important electrification is to a lot of these industries. And we're really wanting to make sure that we develop this energy module that to address all of the different energy needs that a trailer will have in a fleet.
That sounds really cool. So like, I didn't even think about this part, but that's a little bit of cleaning up the environment. But having this propulsion, it's sort of like we've done videos like on the Pebble RV camper that can extend the range of your electric vehicle or your regular gas truck. So this is the same concept. Like if you have an EV semi, it can help improve the range of that. But if you have a diesel truck, it helps improve the gas mileage.
That's right. That's right. And it's really specifically built with a lot of really intelligent drive and controls and safety algorithms. Maybe you can link the viewers to our YouTube video that shows.
Definitely.
We have a 4-minute safety video on YouTube that shows how we can actually use our drive and power platform to bring a more stable system, anti-jackknifing, anti-rollover, stability control. In many cases, we can actually match the stopping distance of a passenger vehicle on snow and ice simply by actuating our e-axle, because it actuates so much faster than the baseline ABS does, right? It's an actual closed loop intelligent actuation system. And so now we're seeing all of these additional safety and stability benefits in addition to the convenience benefits, and obviously the emissions comes with all of it.
Yeah. So basically, like in rain or whatever,
snow, ice, rain, all of that stuff. If you're going down a long grade, some of us that may have driven I-5 in Southern California, you have that grapevine. Whether you're towing an Airstream with your F-150 or you have a big tractor trailer, you're always nervous about your brakes going down that hill. Well, we actually take that opportunity to put all of that kinetic energy through the e-axle back into the battery pack, reclaiming all that kinetic energy. And when you get to the bottom of the hill, your brakes are still unused and ready to go in case you get cut off by somebody not paying attention or you need to use your brakes. And so we're building all of those safety benefits into the baseline of everything we ship, and then adding a lot of those benefits that are, increased range on your EV tractor, increased utility on your alternative fuel tractor. Maybe you have a fuel cell tractor, and then obviously decarbonizing and better fuel economy on your diesel tractor.
That's really cool. Yeah, we used to live in Colorado, so going on I-70, you see all the runaway truck ramps. And at first, you see them, you're like, oh, they're never used, but over the years, we would see them used a lot.
Quite a bit, and especially on, I-70 is a challenging route, and there's a few of those routes in this part of the country that are like that, and we really, really like those because we can reclaim a lot of that kinetic energy and add a lot to the safety.
And now you mentioned like the improved fuel economy for like a diesel truck. So how, what are you estimating, and what have you seen the fuel economy improvements?
So real world numbers, we have seen multiple times with multiple fleets in multiple different regions and different lanes. We have seen numbers start baseline between 6 and 8 miles per gallon, go up to 12 to 15 miles per gallon. And in fact, one route we saw 18 miles per gallon on our Freightliner Freightliner Big Block Cascadia.
That's
sleeper.
Huge.
And so the fuel economy benefits are immediate.
Yeah. And it's, like we would love to see everything just be like snap of a finger, go electric. But when somebody's invested that much in a truck, as well as worrying about the infrastructure being there, this is great. Now, the other thing that you mentioned at Green Lane was one of the great things, and let's go over to
let's do it.
The truck over here, the trailer, I mean. Because like one of the things about when you have an electric tractor truck and you're fueling it or charging it, that's time when it's not in motion.
That's right.
And that's losing. But as you mentioned there, it's when this is being offloaded, this thing can be charged.
That's right. And so that's one of the benefits and one of the reasons that we're going up against we're going with the trailer as kind of the platform for decarbonization, is because it's the only asset in the yard that actually is meant to be parked. Right? Everything else has to be moving to make money. It has to be moving something, it has to be moving a person, something has to be moving to make money. Well, what's moving here when this thing is parked is the goods are moving in and out. So yes, it's still making money and moving, but while it's parked, we leverage either your existing charging infrastructure if you're a fleet that's looking at electrification, but we can also just leverage the existing shore power that's at a lot of these docks for refrigerated fleets especially. And so we've developed our power architecture to have really, really high flexibility on the input power as well. And so I'll give you a scenario. Let's say a daily food distribution route where it's a refrigerated fleet. The driver shows up in the morning at 5, 6 a.m. Their trailer is loaded with ice cream. They go do their deliveries, and then they come back at the end of the day at 3 p.m. They drop off, they plug in, they go to sleep. The next morning, the trailer's full of ice cream again and full of energy again, and they just go back out. And they're using the existing plug that's at the loading dock to do all of that, because then that plug powers the trailer, and then the trailer manages the refrigeration power, the locks, all of those other components that you would usually use shore power for.
That's really cool. And it's sort of like, as an EV owner, like the big benefits of owning an EV that's sort of like glossed over is that I can charge it in the garage when I don't think about it.
That's
like,
right.
yeah, it's when I'm on the road, that's when it's inconvenient and I got to like stop for a little bit longer. But the benefits of having it charge while I sleep, and it's sort of like the
I mean, if you imagine these fleets, we think about, okay, our DC fast chargers on our roads with Electrify America or Tesla charging network, any of these networks, man, it's challenging, but they're popping up and you start seeing them, and sometimes they work. More than often now they are working, as where 2 years ago they were not working very reliably. Imagine that 3 or 4 years back, how far we were back, let's say 5 years, that's where these folks are. Right? Like if you want to deploy charging, we're talking about megawatt. We're not talking about, a couple of 300 kilowatt drops. We're talking about, 2 or 3 or 4 single megawatt chargers or double megawatt chargers. And so, we wanted to make sure that we work on that system, but we also work on the infrastructure that's installed already.
Let's take a look at it. So we'll ignore this part here.
Well, this
no.
just a nod. I mean, this has a refrigeration unit on it. It does have the diesel engine in the front. We are working with our partners, Thermo King, and their future products to go full electric. But in the meantime, along with a lot of the different points of confidence that we're building with the industry, we wanted to make sure that there's a backup plan here,
right? Because
a lot of times the contents, we don't want to lose a box of ice cream, and we sure as heck don't want to lose a box of vaccines, for example.
And
right?
It's not overnight. Like
that's right.
This is part of the transition,
and this is a test trailer.
Yeah.
So, anyways, moving back.
Yeah.
This is our interface. This is our charging interface, standard CCS connector. This is our only user interface. The driver doesn't really see anything other than 3 lights, green, yellow, red.
Yeah.
The fleet can pull telemetry data off of our trailer into the cloud and do whatever the heck they want with it. They can display it in the vehicle for the driver. They can make plans with it. They can do a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to inundate the driver with yet another screen of things to deal with.
Yeah.
There are no drive modes. This does automatic state changes into its own different drive modes and different assist modes, so that we have essentially hook up and go. And when you're done, pull back in, plug it in, completely just mindless and just work.
And we got some footage at Greenling. Like it has a display here showing what percentage the battery's at.
That's right.
That's just very simple.
Yeah, and there's an app, all of this stuff. But we want to try to make this as like, it's just a thing that works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, very easy.
And so this is one of our prototype energy modules, but this is about the size that it is. In this case, we actually have a fully featured trailer. This is shorter wheelbase. It has a side lift gate. It has a rear lift gate. It has 2 side doors on the other side. It has a reefer unit. This is like all the boxes checked. And again, this energy module is providing the energy that the system needs in addition to propulsion.
Now one of the things that we've heard about as we electrify the trucks is that adding the battery takes away from the weight that you can carry. So, how much of that is a real concern? How much of it is like it can work in many situations?
Yeah, I think because you have a mix of passenger vehicle viewers and commercial viewers, we'll kind of set the stage just a little bit. So in North America, typically over the road, you have a weight limit of 80,000 pounds. 82,000 pounds if you have some special permits or something like that. So let's assume 80,000 pounds, and just for rounding, the tractor is about 20,000 pounds. The trailer is about 60,000 pounds. And there are these terms called massing out and cubing out. When you mass out, you run out of that allowance so that your combination is over 80,000 pounds, so you can't put anything else in there.
Right.
Cubing out is when you run out of volume. How many boxes of Amazon do we get, or how many Amazon boxes of just air do we get with SD card on the inside, right? Yeah. And so, interestingly, about 75% of the loads on the road are actually volumed out. They're cubed out. And so we do add, this is this long way of saying the system weighs about 5,500 pounds.
Okay.
But it really only affects a few of the different fleets that we're dealing with. But just like everything else EV, we're more efficient the heavier that you are. And so we can because of regen, we can actually reclaim more regen energy the heavier you are.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, you do have to take 1 or 2 pallets out in the most extreme cases.
Yeah.
But our assist really helps kind of bring some of that energy back. So it's not a total 1-to-1 offset.
Yeah.
All that being said, all of our first fleets that we're dealing with regularly run out of mass allowance, and they cannot get enough of this trailer because of all of the different benefits that it provides to them.
Yeah, that's really cool. We're going to try to sneak back here and see if we can see the e-motor.
Yeah, let's go. Essentially, you know, thinking again about the big tractor trailer unit on the roads, these are typically just freewheeling axles, right? They're like pulling a wagon.
Yeah.
And what we do is we replace the freewheeling axle with a drive axle, with an e-axle. And so and what that does is then that kind of electrifies the system. The slider still works, so you can actually move the point load forward and back like you would normally. In fact, we actually automate that now in a pretty cool way.
Oh, wow.
But at the end of the day, all of this looks familiar to the fleets because there really are a lot of very familiar components that we just kind of hid some electrification into.
And we can see the e-motor in on this side.
Yeah, this is I will say one of our few suppliers that we have for e-motor. So the e-axle that we have in this trailer may or may not be a representation of what we ship with.
You're still
brand-wise.
Earlier stages.
No, we have a supply chain agreement signed for 2026 and for the rest of the year in 2025. We have partners. We're not quite ready to announce them yet.
And then we can see it up here too, right?
That actually is a different e-axle than what's on the vehicle right now. We kind of did that on purpose to throw some people off. But we will be making an announcement of who our axle and our battery supplier are in a little bit.
And then one other thing, there's another charge port here.
Yeah.
Talk about that one real quick.
So this is in case you want to use shore power. So more traditional shore power, and that's the plug that a lot of the reefer fleets have at their loading docks.
So if you don't have you
don't have to have a shore. We have onboard.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And makes it a lot more accessible to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that these charging interfaces and the connector interfaces can be tailored to the fleet. So if you think, okay, well, hey, you know, I have my charger, my power is in the back at the loading dock back there. I don't want the plug all the way up here. No problem. We just spec a different connector umbilical and bring the connector back there.
So a couple of things that, like, when we're on the consumer side, we talk about, like, how big is the battery?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have different battery sizes as well.
In our launch form, we have one battery size, 288 kilowatt hours.
288 kilowatt.
But it is a modular battery, so we could go larger, or we could go smaller. We don't really have a reason or a need to go larger, but there have been some applications, specifically in the non-refrigerated side, where we could cut a third out of that battery capacity and still perform very, very well.
And then, of course, the other thing is like charging speed / charging time. I'm more worried about charging time than peak speed.
So if you think 288 kilowatt hours, we can charge easily up to 300 kilowatts. So we can do a 45 or a 50 minute, nominal charge pretty easily at the loading docks. But again, the 3 and at the same time, we can also do an overnight charge with this plug here. So we can go up to 300. I think it's 300 kilowatts of DC charge. And a lot of this was really developed so that we can get the number of charge cycles that we want to match this, right? I don't want my customers to think about having to switch battery packs out after 200,000 miles, right? This is not a Model S or a Mach-E where we can say, okay, I got my 80,000 miles or I got my 200,000 miles.
Ready to move to the next one.
Ready to move, and you're not upset that there's 80% capacity or 75% capacity left or something. You're saying, I'm going to just drive the wheels off of this. These fleets are not going to have that. They're like, they'll come back to us after a couple of years and say, you know what, I used to get 300 miles of usable utility and now I'm getting 250 miles. I want some of that money back. So we really want to make sure that we scale every aspect of the energy system, including charging, to make sure that we ensure those cycle times or cycle rates.
Do you think a lot of your customers will choose to just use shore power versus DC fast charging?
I think it's going to be a pretty strong combination of the two.
Yeah.
Because eventually, I do believe the majority of the fleets that are operating, and especially the majority of the fleets that we're talking to, are moving to electrification. But they're just either waiting or taking a more economical route to deploying charging rather than just like brute force, just like throw everything we can, get all the permits, get all the contractors, buy the expensive chargers. It's okay. Like there are fleets like that as well, but a lot of the fleets we believe are waiting for this kind of new wave of lower cost components, a little bit more assurance on what the primary movers are going to have to be forced to do. Whether that electrification is still a big push or some type of hybridization. The nice thing is that this technology addresses both. If you want to go hybrid with your fleet or if you want to go pure electric with your fleet, we can support both of those.
Well, it sounds like it's a good way for people to get introduced to this, especially on the commercial side where, for me, it's like I can try it. If I don't like it, I just sell the car. But you got to make things make sense.
Yeah, and we do pilots for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll do multi-week pilots with the customers. We give them real route. They give us their route data. We operate in their route with their driver, with their tractor, and then we share the data with each other. And we say, okay, based on your typical routes, we can estimate that your fuel savings and your maintenance savings and your XYZ will be this. And then they'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense, and you kind of move forward from there.
And I bet that's huge because when you're running a business, big or small, it's all about the data. And the fact that you guys can pull data off of this trailer is pretty interesting.
It's more data than they've ever seen before. They don't even know what to do with the data.
Yeah.
If you even think like California Highway Patrol, we could potentially give a load, red light, green light, as the tractor's driving by. It doesn't even have to stop anymore because we're measuring load in real time.
Yeah.
And so we could do a bunch of different things with the data that we have on board. We're taking baby steps. We don't want to, as I say, boil the ocean with a Bunsen burner. It's not very effective. So we're trying to take some steps here and there to build trust with the industry, build trust with the regulators, and with folks like the Highway Patrol and the folks on the roads, so that we could then say, okay, we can also do this, we can also do that.
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting. Like I said, it was like the most exciting trailer I've ever seen, and I think it's like a huge step, whether it has a diesel up front or electric. I mean, this is like a great transition piece. Wish you guys all the best of luck and a great ACT Expo.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.